I spent 2 solid months out there in the blazing Kansas sun, swinging a brush hook until my palms split, running the old case dozer until the seat felt welded to my backside, and dumping load after load of crusher-run gravel that turned the sweat on my neck the color of rust. Every dime came out of my own pocket, every blister earned honest. The morning the last truck backed away and the dust finally settled, I stood at the barn door with a cup of coffee gone cold and watched a clean gray ribbon of road snake from my gate all the way to the county blacktop. My road, my land, my way home. Then the HOA showed up with a gate. My name is Jack Harlan, 52 years old, third generation on this quarter section up in the north end of Willow Creek County where the tallgrass prairie used to roll unbroken and the only traffic was red-tailed hawks riding thermals. My father, Grayson Harlan, broke his back on this ground. His father, Samuel, lost 2 fingers to a corn binder right where the new road now curves past the cottonwoods. We never owned yachts or stock portfolios, but we owned the deed to this dirt, paid the taxes in full every March, and stood on it in boots we bought with our own money. That still ought to count for something in this country. The trouble had been brewing for years, but it came to a head the spring the wheat was heading out and the buyers were calling twice a day. The only legal access to the farm cut straight through Willow Glen Estates, a gated community of 2-story colonials, 3-car garages, and covenants so thick you needed a law degree to mow your lawn. The HOA board, led by Helen Whitaker, decided farm trucks were an eyesore and a safety hazard. They passed a rule: no vehicle over 8,000 pounds gross between 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening. Try telling that to a combine header or a cattle liner full of yearlings headed to sale. I begged, I reasoned, I offered to sweep the street after every load. Helen smiled the way a cat smiles at a cornered mouse and said, "Community standards, Mr. Harlan. You understand. I lost 3 contracts in 1 week. The co-op quit taking my calls. I sat at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning staring at red numbers on a spreadsheet and felt the walls closing in. That's when I remembered the old service road. Back in '68, before the interstate sliced the county in half, the state ran a narrow gravel lane along the section line to service power poles and drainage culverts. Half the right-of-way sat square on my South 40. The other half belonged to the county, abandoned when the new highway made it obsolete. 30 years of locust trees, sumac, and poison ivy had swallowed it whole. I pulled the 1974 plat map from the safe, yellowed and cracked along the folds, and there it was in black and white. A 15-foot easement, still public, still mine to use if I could claw it back from the wilderness. I drove to town the next morning and found Sarah in the engineering lab at the community college, hair in a ponytail, safety glasses perched on her head like a crown. She's 21, sharp as a new drill bit, and carries her grandfather's stubborn streak in her jaw. I laid the map on the table and said, "I need a road." She didn't ask why. She asked, "How much grade can your truck handle?" We shook on it right there between calculus textbooks and coffee stains. Tom Riley met us at the gate the following dawn. Tom and I go back to junior high shop class. He can rebuild a carburetor blindfolded and cusses in 3 dialects of mechanic. He trailered in his father's 1958 case dozer, the one with the cracked seat and the temperamental hydraulics, and we went to war on the underbrush. Week 1 was pure punishment. The briars were thick as hawser rope and twice as mean. I lost a boot to a sinkhole full of rusting barbed wire. Sarah measured elevations with a laser level while mosquitoes the size of quarters dive-bombed her neck. Tom pushed the dozer until the engine coughed black smoke and begged for mercy. We worked from can't see to can't see, ate bologna sandwiches on the tailgate, and fell into bed too tired to dream. By the end of 14 days, we had a corridor of bare earth 50 feet wide and a quarter-mile long, littered with stumps like broken teeth. Week 2, we brought in the grader. Sarah flagged the crown and the side slopes, so tight you could have rolled a marble from one end to the other, and it would have stayed in the center. I hauled gravel from the quarry in town, 16 tons at a time, 22 loads in all. The county scale operator started waving me through without weighing. Said he'd never seen a man so determined to bankrupt himself 1 rock at a time. By the end of the month, the roadbed was crowned, compacted, and smooth enough to skate on. We stood at the highway end one evening, 3 silhouettes against a peach-colored sky, and watched the last rays of sun bounce off the fresh stone like sparks off flint. Sarah rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "It's beautiful, Dad." Tom cracked open a warm Coke and said, "Beautiful don't pay the bills, but it'll get you home." The first trip down the new road felt like baptism. I eased the Ford into gear, let the clutch out slow, and listened to the tires sing on the gravel, steady, confident, free. No speed bumps. No gatehouse. No glare from porch cameras. Just open country and the smell of cut hay drifting in the window. I hit the county road, turned left toward town, and realized I had 2 extra hours in my day. 2 hours to breathe. 2 hours to live. I should have known peace never lasts when someone else thinks they own your freedom. Helen Whitaker showed up on a Tuesday, heels sinking in the soft shoulder, blouse wider than any laundry detergent commercial had a right to be. Clipboard in hand, smile dialed to patronizing. "Mr. Harlan, any alteration to community-adjacent infrastructure requires prior review." I wiped my hands on a rag and said, "Ma'am, your community ends at the fence line. County survey says so." She blinked once, slow, like a lizard. "We'll need to verify." I told her to verify all she wanted. The paperwork was in the glove box. She left without another word, but the way she looked at my road wasn't curiosity. It was inventory. 3 nights later, the hammering started. I was oiling the mower when Tom's pickup slid to a stop in a cloud of dust. "You better come see." We drove slow, headlights cutting tunnels through the dark. At the bend by the cottonwoods stood a fortress gate, galvanized steel posts sunk in fresh concrete, keypad glowing red, reflective sign screaming Willow Access Partners, LLC, $1.85 monthly access fee. Sarah got out first, walked up, and laid her palm flat against the cold metal like she was testing a fever. "They did this while we slept," she said. Tom kicked the base and muttered, "Cowards in company trucks." I didn't lose my temper. I lost my innocence. I took 64 photographs, measured the concrete pour, noted the contractor's stencil on the keypad, recorded the GPS coordinates. Then I went home and started a folder labeled evidence in thick black marker. They escalated fast. By noon the next day, the feed store parking lot looked like a propaganda rally. Glossy flyers tucked under every wiper. "Dangerous farmer endangers Willow Glen children." Someone had photoshopped horns on my silhouette. The Facebook group exploded. 300 residents suddenly experts on dust mitigation and child psychology. Anonymous emails flooded the sheriff's inbox about reckless trucks and sleepless toddlers. Then, at 1:17 a.m., on a moonless Thursday, a flatbed dumped a mountain of broken concrete, rebar, and splintered pallets across the old entrance, the one route they couldn't legally touch. 10 feet wide, 4 feet high, designed to snarl axles and break wheels. I fired up the tractor at dawn. Sarah filmed from the porch. Tom stood guard with a thermos of coffee gone cold. Bucket by bucket, I moved their barricade into a pile of my own, sweat stinging my eyes, diesel fumes thick in my throat. The deputies arrived in polished boots, wrote a report, promised to look into it. I looked into it harder. We built a war room on the kitchen table. Manila folders, color-coded tabs, 3-ring binders thick as phone books. Sarah scanned every document twice, backed up to 3 drives, printed 4 copies. Tom logged license plates of every vehicle that slowed past the gate after dark. Margaret Klein, 78 years old, church pianist, and secret ally, slipped a grocery sack over the fence post one evening. Inside, a thumb drive and a note in trembling cursive. Board minutes. Budget line items. She never told us. Don't let her steal the valley. MK. I called Ruth Caldwell on a Wednesday when the wind smelled like rain. Ruth is 70 if she's a day, drives a 92 Lincoln with a bumper sticker that reads "My other CR is a subpoena," and once made a federal judge apologize for being late. She rolled up the drive, stepped out in scuffed boots and a blazer older than my daughter, and said, "Show me the lie." We spread the table like a crime scene. She read in silence, lips moving only when she underlined. 10 minutes in, she looked up and said, "They don't have jurisdiction, they don't have clean hands, and they sure as hell don't have a leg to stand on. We're going to drown them in their own ink." Ruth's plan was simple and merciless. No fists, no threats, no viral rants. Just paper. Cease and desist. Injunction. Discovery. She wanted every email, every text, every doodle on a napkin from the HOA board for the last 3 years. She wanted bank records for Willow Access Partners, LLC. She wanted the contractor's invoice for the concrete poured at 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday. They expect you to swing a wrench, she said. We're going to hand them a guillotine made of stapled copies. Sarah posted the video anyway. 30 seconds of gate, gravel, and injustice. Caption: they blocked the road to our farm. It sat quiet for 6 hours, then snowballed. Farmers in Oklahoma shared it with captions about water rights. Ranchers in Nebraska added stories of county commissioners selling easements out from under them. A retired surveyor in Missouri overlaid the original plat and proved the gate sat 12 feet onto county land. By sundown Sunday, it had 1.2 million views and a hashtag, Grayson Pass. The emergency HOA meeting was scheduled for the following Friday in the clubhouse that smelled of lemon polish and desperation. Helen took the podium in a navy suit and pearls, voice syrupy with concern. She clicked to a PowerPoint slide showing my road shaded in ominous red. Unauthorized construction traffic hazards, declining property values. Ruth stood without raising her hand. Walked to the front. Laid the 1974 plat on the projector like a royal flush. Your boundary ends here, she said, tapping the screen. Everything west is agricultural and public. You have no more authority over that gravel than you do over the moon. Gasps. Whispers. A board member 2 seats down from Helen went pale as milk. Ruth kept dealing. The denied reclassification attempt. The LLC registered to Helen's husband at a UPS mailbox. The $14,300 in dues quietly transferred without a vote. Margaret Klein rose from the back row, voice steady as a hymn. Helen's term expired 26 months ago. We never held an election. The room detonated. Folding chairs scraped. Someone shouted, I paid for that gate. Helen pounded the gavel until the head flew off. Didn't matter. The vote was 42-3. Helen Whitaker was out before the cookies were served. Court was quieter, colder, final. The judge, Honorable Patricia Ortiz, had eyes like a hawk and the patience of a glacier. Ruth laid the documents in order: plat, easement, obstruction photos, financial transfers, internal memo titled Project Leverage, Encourage Sale. The defense counsel, a young man in a $2,000 suit, tried good faith and community safety. Judge Ortiz cut him off with a look that could freeze bourbon. Counselor, the only thing in good faith here is the plaintiff's tax payments. Gate comes down in 72 hours. Costs on the LLC. Damages to follow. Financial inquiry to proceed. Court adjourned. Gavel cracked like a starter pistol. Thursday at 7:03 a.m. The county crew arrived. No fanfare. Just generators, cut-off saws, and men who knew how to work. I watched from the porch with a fresh mug of coffee while sparks showered and steel screamed. The posts dropped one by one. The gate itself, 16 feet of arrogance, weighed 1,800 pounds and landed in the flatbed with a hollow boom that echoed across the fields like a period at the end of a long, ugly sentence. The foreman tipped his hat. Road's yours, Mr. Harlan. I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. Sarah asked what we should call it. I looked down the open lane, sunlight pooling on the stones, and said, Grayson Pass. After the man who taught me you don't ask permission to stand on ground your grandfather bled for. The county installed the sign a week later. Simple green letters on white reflective. I drove it every day after that, slow, windows down, radio off, letting the wind carry 30 years of worry out behind me like chaff. The wheat came in heavy that year. The buyers called again. The bank quit sending past due notices. Helen moved to Arizona. Rumor says she's selling essential oils now. The HOA rewrote the covenants, quietly, carefully, with a new president who waves when my truck rumbles past. I still keep the folder labeled evidence in the safe, right beside the deed. Some nights I take it out, run my thumb over the photographs of that gate, and remember how close I came to losing everything my father left me. Then I walk outside, stand at the end of Grayson Pass, and listen to the gravel sing under my boots. It sounds like freedom. It sounds like home. What about you? Ever had someone try to fence off a piece of your life, your time, your work, your dignity? Ever stood your ground when the smart money said fold? Tell me in the comments where you draw the line between justice and surrender. I read every story.